Hello everyone, and welcome to Cosmic Crit. We are a Starfinder role-playing game, actual play podcast, and this is our very first Episode 0 recording. My name is Patrick, and I'm your game master, your podcaster, and your master blaster here that runs this shanty barter town we call home. So, first things first, I'm going to break down what this is all about. What is this podcast, and what is Starfinder? Starfinder is the new game from Paizo, the company that gave us the Pathfinder role-playing game, one of the best tabletop RPGs of all time. Starfinder is a science fiction, what Pathfinder was for fantasy. So instead of setting off on horseback to find a dungeon and slay a giant, we're hopping into our spaceship to explore an asteroid and kill some aliens. Now, before we get to that, this episode, Episode 0, I'm going to introduce you all to my players, my friends, and we're going to talk about the game. But if you're like me, and you've been waiting for this game for over a year, and you don't want to wait a moment longer, well, right now you can skip this episode and go directly to Episode 1 of the show, which is releasing simultaneously. Episode 1 is the start of the adventure where we will meet all 5 of the characters. We'll get a look at the setting for the show, Absalom Station, and we get a sneak peek at the mysteries that lay in store for our heroes. But wait, there's more. We've also recorded and released Episode 2 of Cosmic Crit. Episode 2 officially starts our intro into the Dead Sun's adventure path, written by Rob McCreary. This show, Cosmic Crit, is going to blend strictly adhering to the rules of this new game Starfinder while telling an amazing sci-fi story from the adventure path, and mixing into that the group storytelling that is going to come from all these amazing characters you're about to meet. My hope being is that Cosmic Crit will be something special for all of you to listen to. I'm doing this because this is the actual play podcast that I've wanted to hear. Now, if you like what you hear on the show, all I ask is that you please subscribe and write a review for us on iTunes and tell all your friends that might like it as well. I cannot do this alone. I'm going to need some help here on the show, so I want to first introduce to you all of the players. Without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce everybody. Everyone say hello to Drew, Jabert, Miles, Rebecca, and Tyler. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, team.
When did we become friends? This was new.
Right now. You didn't get the memo?
No. I don't check my email.
Check your inbox. Yeah.
There is a certificate. Patrick friend. It says it.
Yeah, he has. It's
somehow written in crown on my computer.
It's an invitation to
in crown.
Well, it's an invitation to Patrick Book, which is his own version of a social media network.
P-Book.
Sign up is mandatory, by the way.
I'll get right on that. I feel honored, truly.
This is already more confusing than I ever wanted to be, so we'll break it down. This is my voice. This is Patrick, and we're going to go around a invisible table because we are playing online in 4 different states. So the digital table, we're going to go through alphabetically, and that starts us off at Drew. Hey, Drew.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm recording a podcast right now. How are you doing?
I believe I am also recording a podcast. If it's the same one, that remains to be seen, but...
That's pretty amazing. What are the odds? You know? Are you very excited about Starfinder, or are you the most excited about Starfinder?
I think that's a loaded question, and I don't appreciate it. But I will say I am extremely excited about Starfinder. I think this could easily be the greatest podcast that's ever existed on the internet.
About Starfinder?
About anything, really.
TM.
Mark Maron got the president on his show, but I think we are still going to do better than that.
That was like 250 episodes in, so we probably got a ways away before we can rock that level. One thing I wanted to chat to you specifically, Drew, about is that you and I are fans of a shared favorite RPG series, one of my favorite RPG series of all time, the Mass Effect series of games. How much are you expecting Starfinder to kind of feel like the Mass Effect universe?
So I think that Mass Effect is a very particular universe that has a very particular set of things, and I think Starfinder takes those things, but also incorporates things that feel like they're from a lot of others of our favorite.
More fantasy for sure.
Yeah, especially maybe one of the biggest sci-fi fantasy worlds out there. What's it called? It's kind of obscure. You might not have heard of it.
I'm pretty sure.
I think it's like space combat. Is it space?
Trek Warstar.
Space battle?
Yeah, no, I get that, but yeah, no, I just keep going back to Mass Effect because that at least that first game, you go to like this giant space station that's, you know, like a Tower of Babel of like all these different races and species of different kinds of aliens all talking these different languages. And I'm very excited to see that immediately. That's like going to be like one of the first things we get to see is
and
that cool space station.
And I can totally say that my character is not at all based on anything that I've gotten from that game. Not at all, in the slightest. Totally not an NPC that Commander Shepard punches in the face at least one opportunity.
Oh well, don't spoil too much about your character yet. But all right, so that's Drew. Everyone knows Drew's voice. We got 4 more people to go through, so we're gonna burn through as many of them as we can. We might not get to all of them. Who's last in the alphabetical order? We might not get to Tyler. I'm sorry, Tyler. But second around the table, sitting to I guess clockwise, Drew, your left is digitally Jabert.
Hello,
Jabert. Hey, how's it going? Another great friend of mine.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jabert. This is really weird. I'm reading from a cue card here. My executive producer is whispering in my ear, and they're telling me your name does not have an L in it.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep. Well, the state of Massachusetts could say differently, but
oh no!
I know, seriously,
did they keep trying to Gilbert you up?
Oh yeah, no, seriously, like yeah, my driver's license is definitely for Gilbert right now. So,
oh my goodness, you're living a lie, man. Living a lie. Yeah, but like Drew and you and I have known each other for some time.
Quite some time, yeah.
And I'm pretty well. I'm defensive when someone says your name incorrectly as well. Maybe more than you are. I'm just like, how dare you?
Right. Yeah. I've been dealing with it for about 31 years at this point. So
getting old hat.
Yeah.
So you and I've been your GM before, but right now we're both players and we are at the same actual IRL tabletop Pathfinder game, and we're playing Kingmaker right now. What are your thoughts on that game?
I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the kind of the prospect of kind of doing this like nation building sort of exercise, and kind of seeing what I mean. You can get into so much trouble as a character, and like imagine how much more trouble you can get in as a kingdom, right?
Yeah. No. Basically, in that game, if you've not heard of it before, it's another adventure path that Paizo has put out, and it just gives you a big sandbox of this open wilderness space, and they expect you to set up a city and then like a kingdom and then multiple cities, I think, eventually, and do the complete fantasy storytelling experience from the ground up over the course of years, if not decades. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy so far. We're like 2 years into it. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Do you expect to see a lot of similarities between the fantasy and Pathfinder and the sci-fi and Finder?
I mean, certainly mechanically, there's going to be a lot of overlap. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of disconnect because of some of the canon that they've written to the worlds. But with the gap and all that.
Right.
So, but I will be excited to see some of our somewhat familiar faces, like elves in space.
God, yeah, no, there's some interesting through threads. And to be honest, when they announced Starfinder at first, and they said it was going to be in the Galarian system, but in space, I was like, oh man, I'm just going to play a space dwarf forever, or a space elf forever. But
yeah, I was kind of thinking like, oh well, that's sort of interesting. Like, so while we're running around down here, there are people flying around up there. But that's unfortunate.
Well, that's Jabert. 2 down, 3 to go. Next, alphabetically sitting to Jabert's left, maybe directly across from me at the digital table, Miles. Hey, Miles.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Pretty good. Halfway there. Gotta get through to you. 2 more to go. So, Miles, you are a big horror fan. That's safe to say, right?
Absolutely.
Like, a huge horror fan. You're like
an understatement.
The horror guy here. And you have actually written about the series of films Ridley Scott's Aliens and beyond Ridley Scott, I guess, as well. But the series of films that started with Alien, the classic with Sigourney Weaver and Tom Skerritt, right? That's a weird thing.
But also accurate.
Yeah, very, very accurate. Starring Tom Skerritt. Would you say that it is probably the most influential sci-fi horror series of all time?
Absolutely. I mean, there's not a whole lot of comparison. I mean, when you think of sci-fi horror, there's not a whole lot there. I mean, don't there's a ton of sci-fi horror out there, but like as far as like stuff that's classic,
yeah, no, it's one of the original.
The only one that I would have put up there is
about Event Horizon.
I actually was literally in the middle of saying the only other film that I would put up there as far as a great sci-fi horror film is Event Horizon.
Oh, really?
So
yeah.
Funny.
No, I love that movie. It's the only good movie Paul W.S. Anderson ever did.
Or Sam Neill.
It's great. Oh, boy. Oh, we're going to have
Sam
that
Neill has done some good
pretty
stuff.
early. Yeah, he's done some other horror.
In the Mouth of Madness with John Carpenter.
Yeah. Not great, but man.
No, I love that movie.
Event Horizon was one of those guttural things. Like if I come across it on TV, I'm just like, maybe I'm just gonna turn the lights on right now, pretend like that didn't happen.
Well, it's a really good film.
To go back to Aliens, what is it about those films that you think is so frightening? And does that have to be in a sci-fi? Can it just like take place on Earth in like modern times? Be like a creepy monster?
I mean,
what is it about the sci-fi?
Could, but it takes kind of the magic away. Like I love the idea of combining speculative fiction and your traditional, almost not home invasion type film, but it's like a home invasion and a creature feature type film in a setting that kind of makes you a little bit more uncomfortable, because if you're in space, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no escape. You are stuck in that one place.
You could go outside, but I'm not sure it would end well for you.
Well, it's why one of the Twilight Zone episodes, one of the best episodes with William Shatner himself is such a classic, where there's something on the wing. There's nowhere he can go. There's nobody he can get to help him, and it's like a do or die situation right there to get people to go.
That's actually honestly one of the many reasons Alien works. One is a science fiction film and a horror film. There's a lot of factors into that specific film. And
so many things that went right. That we haven't even talked about the art design, which is arguably the best part of the film. H.R. Geiger's
yeah, absolutely.
art. But what I'm trying to get at here, Miles, is you are okay if your character in Starfinder dies a horrific death at the hands of a really cool-looking space alien, right?
I'm more okay if one of my teammates dies a horrific death.
And your character gets to see it and record it.
Exactly.
I'm okay if Miles' character dies a horrific death. I'm good with that.
Moving on from Miles, penultimately,
at least I don't have to hear your jokes anymore. So
our next player is Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca. How are you? Now, this isn't like your first foray into tabletop gaming, because we've been playing for a few months together, but you are still relatively new to this style of games, this version of role-playing games. You've played a ton. But
I don't know about a ton. I've played a few.
Kingdom Hearts, you're a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I've played Kingdom Hearts, sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure that anybody is a huge Kingdom Hearts fan.
Oh, I know plenty of them.
I did spend a good amount of time playing World of Warcraft in my younger days.
That is technically very much an RPG.
So, yes, I have some experience with RPGs. That's more experience than Kingdom Hearts ever gave me.
Yeah, so, but as far as Pathfinder, we've been playing it 6 or 7 months now, but you are still kind of new compared to me, I guess, and some of our other players here to this style of games. Miles and Drew, you're pretty darn new as well.
Yeah, Rebecca and I started on the same campaign, and I have so many years of video games doing all that math for me that.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, it's basically exactly what you're talking about. Is there's like a percentage hit, for World of Warcraft when you left click on that monster, and the same thing kind of happens when you roll D20 in Pathfinder.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I kind of came at this from a very backwards point of view, where I played World of Warcraft and I had friends in the game who were really into the math of it, did all of the figuring out numbers and how this gear would impact their strength or whatever, and I never really got into that part of it. I did a lot of research and I knew how to play my character, but I didn't know all of the math and all of that stuff. But I understand now. I can see the having now played one of these tabletop RPGs and having to do some of that math myself. Of course, I still have a little bit of help, but I see the evolution of gaming and how it came from all of this, it's pretty neat to see it from that perspective, and to be on that creation side of things.
I mean, beyond the mechanics, did you ever dabble in an RP, a role-playing server in Warcraft?
Oh gosh, no, that terrifies me.
Because I did, and yes, it was frightening when someone would come up to you and be like, "Hail, stranger!" I'd be like,
yeah,
"What up, son?"
I started a character as maybe as a joke or maybe as an experiment or something, and just immediately was so embarrassed and it was very awkward for me.
Oh,
so I left.
Believe it or not, no, everyone's first RP experience, it better be awkward or you're not doing it right. Do you expect to see a ton of similarities between World of Warcraft or any other RPGs you've played and Starfinder?
I don't know. I mean, it's set in space, and I more than anybody else here, I think, really don't have a lot of experience with video games, and certainly not sci-fi based video games. I tend more towards fantasy, I think.
Yeah, except your favorite race to play as in World of Warcraft was the Space Goats.
That's true. Yeah, Draenei, totally all the way. Yeah, I was definitely an alien for most of my WoW career. So fair enough.
There's some sci-fi fantasy aspects of that game.
Yeah, no, there are. Especially after the introduction of Draenei. I mean, you can't really get away from the aliens. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. But I'm curious to see how this goes. I'm less familiar with gaming in general, I guess, and don't have all of the cultural bases that a lot of people do with oh, this is kind of like Destiny, or oh, this is kind of like Mass Effect. None of that means anything to me. I never played any of those games, so
well, that's fine. That's one thing about diving into kind of an amalgam world like I think Starfinder is going to be, is that it'll be a brand new crazy experience for some players and some listeners to this podcast for sure, and then people that are old fans will be like, oh well, this is just like this, or that is definitely an homage to creatures from Alien.
Yeah.
But
can I also say, not only do I appreciate now having played a tabletop RPG, I appreciate now not only the evolution of video games from that, but also the wonders of Munchkin, because I played Munchkin way before I ever got into actually playing a dice game or anything, and I kind of get it now, what it's making fun of.
Munchkin, the card game, if you guys haven't played it, is it's a humorous look at the mechanics of games like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder, where you're just always trying to get the best gear and the best power-ups and beat the monsters the fastest.
Oh, it's great fun. I love Munchkin, and I always have, but now I have a little more understanding of why it is the way it is. Yeah.
Last, but certainly probably not the least, we have my man Tyler.
Thanks. That glowing welcome was
certainly
touching.
Probably not the least. I apologize right now, Tyler, if I call you Tai Tai, because I've become
We've been calling
accustomed
that for like a
to,
year.
to saying that. I think I blame Miles for doing it first,
Yep.
and then I definitely picked it up, and then I started calling Miles my, which sounds so weird. Tai my. Welcome, Tyler. So we've played in a few different tabletop RPGs together before Cosmic Crit, with me as your game master, and right now I'm running you in another Pathfinder AP adventure path. Their latest one, Iron Fang Invasions. I have one question for you. Tell me flat out, am I a good game master? Yes or no?
Flat out, I would say yes.
Yeah.
But there are like a lot of asterisks around that. You know. But
no.
yeah, no,
I'm in the record books, but there's an asterisk.
Yeah. No, I enjoy having you as a GM, which is why I'm doing this podcast.
I'm glad somebody does. Oh.
Yeah. There's got to be one person who's having fun with him as a GM.
Am I entertaining? Do I amuse you?
You amuse me. You stimulate my ears perfectly.
Yeah, so I thrive on feedback and praise, good or bad. Please and thank you, Tyler. Whenever you tell me I didn't like that fight at all.
Well, and it's because I've only, I guess, one of those asterisks, of course, is like, you know, we've only ever done tabletop RPGs over online. I live on the other side of the US from you, and we've never got to really play in person. And so, I have, obviously I've played other tabletop RPGs in person, and I still, that is obviously the way I love to do it. So, there's always going to be difficulties just because it's an online setting.
It's always very different. I've only started playing online in the last couple of years, and I was surprised at how focused some of the games can be. And I don't know if it's just, you're able to do a lot of stuff like beforehand that you have to do like, when you get to the table in real life game, and maybe there's more chances to be diverted. I guess you can't really leave your computer too much when you're in a PC game, but I'm very excited to play Starfinder online, and I would love to play it in person as well whenever we can.
Oh yeah, if I ever win the lottery, I'll probably just move out to where you guys are, so I can, or just fly back and forth all the time. I won't care.
That's probably a better option.
I think we're moving West Coast. We win the lottery. So
just fly right by each other. We both win the lottery. We just pass. Now we're the same problem, two different areas.
You open the windows on your respective planes and throw dice at each other.
What are we, Amelia Earhart?
The gift of the Magi.
That is so dangerous. I cannot condone that kind of behavior, Drew.
Jeez, it's episode 0, and we're already suggesting to our listeners,
dice strike. The plane's going down in the
747's window. See how that works out.
So that's these 5 people who are my friends and players. I hope you like their voices as well. I should probably give you some information about me. I've been a player of tabletop RPGs since Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. Like we're talking maybe 18 years. 17 years, somewhere in there. And I've been playing Pathfinder, probably for the last 6 years. And I've game mastered 90% of the time, and other systems. Cyberpunk 2020 is a favorite, Numenera, Fate Core, but Pathfinder is my main love. And when they announced Starfinder, I was skeptical at first, but every little piece of information they released got me more and more excited to jump into this new universe. I love getting together with my friends and playing any kind of game together, whether it's online video games or in person playing board games with my friends here. And this game group, the 6 of us, I was really, really surprised and pleasantly surprised that it's worked out so well. There's definitely a chemistry between us, and not all of you guys knew one another before we started playing, but over the last
I think we did for the most part.
I didn't know Tyler.
I don't think maybe like Jabert and Tyler weren't like best buds.
That's right.
You've met each other like
Tyler
briefly since then, but I mean we've been playing for about 8 months in our homebrew Pathfinder game, and it's been a treat to both write and game master for you guys, and I can't wait to transfer some of this magic to the Starfinder game and to Cosmic Crit, what you're listening to right now. So that's the introduction to you guys. I know we didn't talk like too many specifics about like who you are and what you do, but that's kind of boring and it'll come later. We're just got a couple of questions here about what Cosmic Crit's going to be about, what the Starfinder game is going to be about. We've been talking about it, but we've never recorded talking about it and put it out for other people to hear. So what do you guys think we're going to see in Starfinder and in the first adventure path, Dead Suns?
Oh my gosh.
In the universe itself.
Everything that's going to happen in the universe. Tell us what we're going to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are you excited for?
I'm excited for what is out beyond the Pack World system. So, we've seen a little bit about the Pack World system, and I've read a little bit about, the different planets that are in that. But, I'm really excited for what lays beyond that and what kind of really, weird stuff we're maybe going to get to encounter as we're, navigating and charting, new parts of the solar system.
So I've been really focused on character creation. So my thoughts about Starfinder are really focused on like through my character's lens, But I'm really interested to see the Solarian class at work and how that turns out as really awesome or really lame. We'll see.
Well, so I mean that's the thing. Like there's the class on paper, there's the ideas on paper. But it's a whole different thing once you hit play, how it's going to work out. And I said this to another friend of mine, a Starfinder friend today, that the best class in the hands of the worst player is always going to be worse than the best player with the worst class. It's all about... Hence
why I've chosen an envoy. Wink!
Yeah. Drew, that's I've been meaning to tell you, you're starting this game on hard mode. Apparently, says the internet.
My name is Nax Scissorak. I am a space rat, and this is my favorite storefront on Absalom Station.
I mean, that's one thing I'm really excited about Starfinder is the classes are pretty well balanced, but they still have their own individuality in where they're going to excel. Like, are they going to excel in the out of combat stuff, in the the tense? I got to disarm this explosive device right now, or I've got to fix a ship, or we're going down. Are they going to be ranged combat specialists or close combat specialists? And how are those classes and characters going to fare in different situations? And that's one of the great things about having a party of 5 is you guys can kind of fill in all the different nooks and crannies of what you need in an adventuring party. And be strong where other classes might be weak and vice versa.
Yeah, I would agree with Rebecca in a big way. I'm really excited to see my character get out there into the universe and start to kind of explore the space a little bit, interact a little bit. I gotta say, on a mechanical level, I am just so very stoked for the starship combat.
Oh yeah.
Me
totally
too.
Yeah, we've gotten tantalizing hints at what it's going to be like. We've seen a couple of playthroughs. If you do some searches online, you can see it being demoed. But yeah, I want to dig in, and I can't wait. I want to get to the end of a long adventure path, or like an epic homebrew story where there's just like 10 capital ships versus 10 capital ships, and your like teeny ship is darting in between them. Yeah, I can't wait. That's something that's pretty much wholly new to Starfinder. There was naval combat in Pathfinder, but they've kind of like upped it, to a new level, and it's like a core mechanic in this game. So that's definitely going to be awesome.
So I have something else to add. As someone who has only ever played Final Fantasy D20, and that's the only other tabletop RPG that I've played, I'm interested to see like what the new monsters might be, like what kinds of enemies we come up against. I mean, I'm used to these enemies being from another property, so I'm interested to see how crazy they are, or how they play into the world building aspect of Starfinder as a separate game from other RPGs.
Well, yeah, no, our homebrew game, it's still based on, we were playing Pathfinder, we're playing a homebrew that was set in the Final Fantasy world, but that's still a fantasy world like Pathfinder. So, I mean, you got your dragons, you got your goblins, a lot of similar stuff, and those will exist in Starfinder, at least to a certain extent. But I think piled on top of that, you're going to just have a lot more robots and, horrific space monsters from other star systems, and yeah, just like every single person in the Mos Eisley Cantina is going to show up at some point. You're gonna see them all, I think.
I don't like you. My friend doesn't like you either.
10,000 cred bounty on his head. The setting that we find ourselves in, Absalom Station, is kind of a centralized location in the way starship travel works. So you will see, all kinds of crazy races from beyond the packed worlds, like we're talking about with Kyler, from planets that might not have been visited by humans yet. That maybe the first contact is happening, in this game, and it's like you bumping into them as they're walking around the station, and you're like, "Sorry about that." They're like, "These are a graceful people, a gracious people."
Yeah, I that was one of the things that I was really, because going back to the monsters, it's just like with Pathfinder and fantasy monsters, it's pretty. I think Paizo does a great job with the bestiaries and coming up with new creatures. But you want, whenever we talk about a space setting, you want some really weird stuff, and I was really excited when the First Contact came out.
Yeah, the free RPG
had that
Day
list.
supplements. So
Yeah,
like 12
and they
aliens in there.
I can't remember. I think there's like 5. I don't know if there's 12.
It was
I know
a
there's
good
decent.
smattering. I was very I didn't think we were getting that many. I thought it's gonna be like 5 or 6.
Yeah, but just looking through them, and I was just I felt so much more confident. I was like, oh, they're gonna knock this out of the park. Like, these are
Space goblins are a thing. Everybody, don't worry.
And as a neophyte to this whole thing, I feel like Starfinder feels like it is geared towards, on one hand, being able to easily get into the game, but on the other hand, you really still have to pay that attention and get into the game to really get the most out of it. And I think that I'm hoping it strikes that good balance between the two things to bring people like us, or people like me, into stuff like this, because it's been a lot of fun to do this, but I feel like I have a much better handle on this game than I did on the previous game that we played.
So this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast. I wanted to bring Cosmic Crit to life, and it's one of my next questions. So good segue. Why should people listen to us play this game? Why should they hit subscribe right now at the beginning of the podcast?
So outside of the fictional podcasts that I listen to, which more are, like more dramatic shows as far as the stuff I listen to, the stuff where it's not non-fictional, but like, actual people interacting with one another, the most important thing to me is rapport. Like if I can tell that they at least have a good chemistry or like each other, or in something like this, if they're having fun, then I'm more likely to listen to it, because the stuff that comes out naturally when people are having fun is infinitely more interesting to me than something that's carefully precise and scripted out.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I've liked about our Monday night games, where this game group came from, is it was never boring for me, at least as game master.
No,
it was always
it wasn't, and we
fun
had
to sit
some
down.
really, really ridiculous times, and that's something that there are times we got like really like sloppy with the game, but we still had fun. And I know we're going to be a little bit more of a tighter ship here, but at the same time, like, all of us, knowing each other fairly well or to very well, I think that's not going to be a problem for us. So if you want to listen to people who like each other and have a good time together, that's why I would listen to us.
I mean, I've known most of you guys for the better part of a decade or so,
Which is very weird to say.
Yeah. No, we're old fogies. What were you about to say something, Tyler?
Oh, I was just gonna. For me, with podcasts, I mean, besides kind of building off of what Miles was saying, the other thing I like when I listen to tabletop RPG podcasts is I like for cool characters to do cool things and to listen to them evolve and change from that. And I've got some secret knowledge because I know a little bit about all these guys' characters, and they're cool characters. We've just built some fun, people and beings that we're going to get to play around with. And I already have played with them, and I already know that they're very capable of doing cool things or ridiculous things and having it somehow pan out. Only I could roll as well as you guys.
I can hear you like staring in my direction for that one time that I made the most ridiculous play in the history of tabletop games.
It happens where you've got either great role players or great rollers, on the dice, or someone that's really tactically sound and someone that's there to like make sure everyone's having a good time. And it seems like every once in a while we kind of rotate those roles to where, none of us are bored in what we're bringing to the game.
And it's also a situation where I know that a couple of us do this. I know I try to do this, and I know Miles tries to do this. We try to break the game sometimes and really see how far we can push our GM to see how much stuff he has planned for us to do. And
that's standard policy. You got to push back on your GM just a little bit to make sure that he's not,
There's some filing cabinets in the corner. I go to the filing cabinet and I description of each page that's in there.
Right. I look at the first file.
They're empty. That's empty file cabinet. They've been, So I mean, that's fun shenanigans. But it seems like that'll happen naturally at every table where there's players that are like, anything could happen here. I'm going to do anything because of that.
Well, I think it also helps that the five, all of us are so familiar with one another. It does kind of help. I don't want to say break the ice, but there's not that kind of coolness of some players who have to maintain a certain stature. We're all pretty comfortable just being asses.
Yeah, and we will pick on each other, and it's okay.
Constantly.
We love we love each other, and it's just gonna happen.
Yeah, I've actually, from our other show, I've had people ask if the two of us don't actually like each other.
Really?
Yes.
That's
because if you listen to some episodes, it does come off like we don't like each other.
That's a little sad, but
I know. Well, because Drew and I are very, very similar, and so we often will pick on each other incessantly, and sometimes some people don't get that. It's just we're that comfortable with one another.
I'd like to see that manifest in your characters. Speaking of which, we don't have to talk too much about our characters right now because we're going to have a whole game where we introduce them. But you all have kind of ideas about each other's characters. You've seen bits and pieces as we've been making them, and we've getting more and more information from Paizo about what the classes and the races are going to be. What are you guys' predictions for each other's characters in the episodes that lay ahead of us?
Oh wow,
do you mean for our relationships with other characters?
Yeah, or just what kind of characters do you see each other playing, or where do you think they're going to go?
Well, I personally, I can't really speak to the character independently, but I've been really intrigued personally by my character being really young and a student and valuing logic and all of that stuff, and being paired up with this very old seasoned android who also values logic. I think that there's potential for a really interesting relationship there.
Student and teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Mentor, mentoree.
Yeah, and I also think there's some potential for her to be strangely fascinated, I guess, by Edris. Is that how you say your name? Because
not even close.
His size, because he's really big, and there again is a seasoned adventurer and explorer, and she has a bit of wanderlust and a desire for more adventure than she's seen in her lifetime so far. So I think that there's some potential there for some interesting interactions.
So Jabert's our android, and Tyler's going to be our Vesk Edris. What about you two? Do you guys have any expectations or anything you think you might see? Any predictions in each other's characters?
Yeah, I've kind of given some thought to, based on some kind of rough sketches about kind of other characters, what sorts of ways that those other characters might interact with my android mechanic. And I think that there's a really good chance that he'll get along well with Rebecca's character. I see him and Idris having a pretty functional relationship, but Andis is a pretty reserved sort of person and a little hard to read sometimes. So he's not necessarily the most outgoing person.
Thing. Miles and Drew and Tyler, you guys in predictions?
Yeah, I for my character, because I'm playing the Vesk, and he's from obviously the Veskarium, so I'm actually from near space, and I don't think any of the other characters are or I think all the other characters are pack worlders.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that interaction, and I think I'm gonna be interacting pretty seamlessly with Drew's character, with Miles's character. I think I think Rebecca's character is going to be the most interesting in how our characters are going to kind of interact with each other. And when the group does come together, I'm interested, because this will be the first time that Edris will have had kind of a tight knit group that he's really, or hopefully that you'll really care about. And I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Who hurt you, Tyler? Who hurt Tyler's character, Drew or Miles?
I am playing an Isoki, which is for those not in the know, a rat folk, and I am looking forward to
in the house.
I'm looking forward to both falling into and subverting those expectations based on whether or how that benefits my character.
I can't play it because I would just go straight Rizzo the Rat all the time. It's impossible for me not to. Miles, anything?
Yeah. So my character, because of his history, he's a little bit of a lone wolf. So even though he will play with these characters, he will not trust them implicitly as a team. He has dealt with some of them, so I know that Rami and Idris would have had some dealings before, so he's a little bit more comfortable. But some of the unknown factors, like Rebecca's character, will be more interesting, just because he will have kind of looked up who everyone is before he's even met them, and will probably know things about them that they don't want people to know. So he has kind of a contentious relationship. So it'll be interesting to see if he can actually function with a team.
Trust issues, the Starfinder real play podcast.
Yeah, that was actually something that I'd considered when I was thinking about your character there, Miles. Andis has got some past that they don't really want to, they don't really want dragged back up again. And so,
but it's going to all that dirty laundry coming out in the wash.
Episode 1, Miles blackmails everyone.
Well, no, it's not for the purpose of blackmailing necessarily.
It definitely is. Don't let him. He told me he's going to blackmail you.
No, I did not. That is not how that conversation went.
I don't know.
Spend all your character creation credits now.
He does.
If you figure out my character's backstory, you've kind of earned it. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, no, all kinds of mysteries. There are going to be mysteries that you guys keep from each other. Mysteries about your characters that I'm going to try and keep from you as best that I can, and we are going to hear about them in our first game, which is coming up. You can listen to it right now. But for now, we've talked enough in this episode about you guys, the game, the podcast, so we have to wrap it up. We're going long, and that's our episode 0, or whatever we call it. And I know it went by fast, but it's been a while. But just if you're interested in finding out more about what we're going to do on Cosmic Crit, you can find all of our information on our lovely website at www.cosmiccrit.com. We've got information about the characters these guys are playing up on there, and about us too. Yeah, so all that player information, our show notes, and our episodes are going to be up online. If you're listening to this, you can listen to them all right now. And we're going to have more online soon after that. So check us out. That does it for us right now. And like I said, we're going straight into our first official episode. So hit next, and you can listen to it immediately. You're going to meet the player characters. You're going to learn more about the world of Starfinder in our first episode, episode 1 of Cosmic Crit, called Space Hooligans. You've been listening to Cosmic Crit, a Starfinder role-playing game actual play podcast. If you like what you hear and want to know more, find us online at cosmiccrit.com, where you can see our character sheets, read their backstories, and check out all of our art. Follow us online at Cosmic Crit on the Twitter and the Instagram, or send us an email, a question, a comment, or a critique at cosmiccrit@gmail.com. Our theme music is Epic Song by the band Alpha Brutal. You can find them online at alphabrutal.bandcamp.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, may all your crits be cosmic crits.